Isagenix, and with me is Melissa Mislinski of Fiduciary Partners. We're the co-chairs of the Women's Fund Events Committee, and we're so excited to celebrate today with you. On behalf of our committee and the many women and girls who benefit from your support, we'd like to say thank you for joining us for our 17th annual Women's Fund Luncheon. So whether this is your first, or if you've been here for all 17, raise your hand. Who's been here for all 17? We welcome you. $8,800. And today, our total grant making has reached almost $1.3 million. We have invested in the future of women and girls in our community by supporting more than 200 programs, facilitated by 80 different nonprofits that have increased safety from violence, promoted health and wellness, supported mentoring and leadership development for girls, and helped empower women toward economic security for themselves and their families. The Women's Fund has deep roots in creating real change through creative gender-based solutions. From the vision of a small group of passionate women utilizing their resources to start the Women's Fund, to the hundreds and almost 1,000 of you here today, the Women's Fund has made a lasting impression on the lives of girls and women, as well as our community.
The Women's Fund has received support from thousands of donors and is very fortunate to have generous support of this year's event's sponsors. Presenting sponsor, Community First Credit Union. Speaker sponsors, Associated Bank and U.S. Venture. Sustaining sponsors, Kimberly-Clark, Mosaic Family Health, Thrive Financial. Lead sponsors, Bank First Financial, Community Foundation for the Fox Valley Region, and Secura. Corporate sponsors, Bassett Mechanical, Lisa Germain Isagenix, Plexus, The Bolt Company, Theta Care, Women's Care of Wisconsin. Contributing sponsors, American National Bank, Bergstrom Automotive, Bright Star Care, Core Commercial, Culvers of Darboy and Little Chute, Fiduciary Partners Trust Company, Godfrey & Kahn, Hinshaw & Culbertson, Johnson Bank, Legacy Private Trust Company, Barb Mary, Michael's Catering, Dr. Sandra Mills Students Forward Foundation, Radiology Associates of the Fox Valley, Schenck, Sitzman Law Firm, Women's Health Specialists. Our in-kind sponsors, Angie Saransky, Graphic Design, Debbie Dannon Photography, Fast Signs, Flower Girl Design Studio, Fox Valley Technical College, Image Studios, Insight Magazine, Local 5 Live, Memorial Florist and Greenhouse, NEW Printing, The Post Crescent, Women Magazine, and Woodward Radio Group. Thank you to these very generous companies, foundations, and individuals.
Thank you also to all the volunteers who make all of the work at the Women's Fund possible, including today's luncheon. A special shout out to the events committee whose names are listed at the back cover of your program. We'd like to have all of our committee members stand to be recognized, from events, communication, development, grants, our task forces for youth philanthropy, and our Young Women's Initiative, and our board of directors. Can you all stand, please? Thank you for all you do for local women and girls and for making this another successful event. So here's the fun part. Are you in the market for a new purse for fall? Then don't forget to buy your raffle tickets. Today's raffle includes 3 bags from Vera Bradley, Michael Kors, and Kate Spade. And you get 3 chances to win for only $20, and you get a nice, cute little lipstick purse with it. So there are people walking around with balloons that will help you get your tickets. Each package includes not just the designer handbag, but jewelry, event tickets, pampering, restaurant gift cards, and of course, a bottle of wine. And some packages also include additional items like an Echo Tower, Christian Dior fragrance, or a stay here at the Radisson. And you can see the list of generous donors on the screen. Again, the tickets are 3 for $20, and they come in a cute lipstick purse, so you don't want to miss this opportunity. So if you haven't had a chance to purchase the tickets yet, raise your hand, and one of the volunteers will stop by your table. You must be present to win the raffle, so don't leave early. The beautiful centerpieces at your table can also be yours to take home. You can purchase one for $20 and put your payment into the envelope on the table. Volunteers will be collecting those envelopes at the conclusion of today's program. And please remember to fill out your contact information on the gray card provided at your table for a chance to win a Medushi jewelry necklace or 2 free seats to next year's luncheon. We'll have volunteers collecting the cards at the end of the program today, or you can just give us a business card. We'll announce the winners in our next email newsletter. And don't forget to connect with us on social media. You can like us on Facebook or check out our Snapchat filter for today's event. And finally, as we're about to enjoy lunch, can we have a round of applause for the staff here at the hotel? They've put in a full day, and they take great care of us. So thank you so much for coming. Please enjoy your lunch, and we'll reconvene with the program at 11:50.
And I was the last one out of the classroom. And
all right, good afternoon, everybody. Could we have your attention up front here, please? Everyone's used to the music by now, right? We're ready to rock out and get going, but that is our cue that it is time to start our program. So if we can have your attention up front, we will do our best to get you back to work on time. That's always another promise that we do. Welcome back. I'm Lisa Malik, co-host of Local 5 Live on WFRV Channel 5. I know they mentioned earlier that this is the 17th anniversary of the Women's Fund and 10th anniversary of the grant-making program. And as it turns out, I find out from reading my script, it's my anniversary too. It has been 10 years of Women's Fund luncheons that I've been to emceeing. So that must have been, let's see, I started when I was 17. Sounds about right. But I really am happy to be asked back every year and play a role in supporting this event and the Women's Fund. The Women's Fund has been successful in utilizing the passion, gifts, and resources in our sustainable society where women and girls have opportunities to develop and use their talents, abilities, and skills, along with the freedom to make their own decisions, guided by their personal values and beliefs. Today's luncheon will share the impact of your investment in women and girls through grants, advocacy, and education. In 2017, Women's Fund grants will touch the lives of nearly 780 women, girls, and their families through $84,000 in project grants to 15 organizations. I think that deserves a big round of applause. And you being here are part of it. Your support will not only touch their lives, but also support thousands more with the ripple impact of helping women attain a life of safety, self-sufficiency, and health and wellness. Locally, nationally, and worldwide, women and girls are disproportionately represented among the uneducated, the poorest of the poor, and those who are physically, sexually, and emotionally abused. Without a focused, intentional effort on addressing the issues that impact them, this population will continue to remain underserved and disenfranchised. We believe that the full participation of women and girls is key to a strong, equitable, and sustainable community. We are so grateful for your support today and in the future, as well as the support of the many individual, corporate, and foundation donors who have helped the Women's Fund create a community where women and girls don't just survive, they thrive. Today's presenting partner and longtime supporter of the Women's Fund, Community First Credit Union, has generously sponsored all 17 Women's Fund luncheons and established a permanent endowment fund within the Women's Fund. Community First, yes, I say applause whenever you want. Community First has helped find a way to make a difference through their leadership and generous support of the Women's Fund and the organizations supported through its grant making. And I'd now like to introduce Kathy Tierney, President and CEO of Community First Credit Union.
Good afternoon, everybody. Wow. What a beautiful sight you are. Community First is so very proud to be the presenting sponsor of the Women's Fund Luncheon. And it's my great honor today, in recognition of 17 years and 10 years of grant making and Lisa Malik's 10-year anniversary, to announce that we are going to add $10,000 to our donor-designated fund in the Women's Fund to help this cause. And I want to encourage all of you companies out there, to establish a fund and do this. You can do it. It's amazing as I think back over all the years and think about today how very special it is, the way that we all come together to support one another, to support our community, to support girls and women. Behind every successful woman is a tribe of other successful women who have her back. Surround yourself with people who add value to your life, who challenge you to be greater than you were yesterday, who sprinkle magic into your existence, just like you do to theirs. Find your tribe, love them hard, and enjoy the journey together. The Women's Fund believes in the power of supporting girls in learning about and experiencing the value of philanthropy and nonprofit leadership. Since 2012, the Women's Fund has worked with area schools to gather a group of high school-aged girls that meet for leadership training, community education, and to administer the fund's Girls Grant-Making Program. At the end of the program, the girls are empowered to recommend $10,000 in grants to the program they think will best meet the needs of girls in the Fox Valley. This year's participants were from Freedom, Little Chute, Kimberly, and Kaukauna High Schools. And it's now my pleasure to introduce Suzanne Hones, a recent Lawrence University graduate and summer intern for the Women's Fund, to tell us more.
Hello, I'm Suzanne. I'm about to finish my time as the summer intern with the Women's Fund. It's been a great summer working with Becky and Jen, who have worked tirelessly to put on such a great event for all of us today. One part of my internship this summer has been social media, so I would be remiss not to take a photo from the stage of everyone. So just sit still while I take a few pictures. Everyone looks great. Awesome, thank you. The main thing I've been doing for the Women's Fund this summer is evaluating the Girls Grant-Making Project. Initiated in 2012, this program completed its 6th cycle this past spring, when girls from Freedom, Little Chute, Kaukauna, and Kimberly High Schools participated in 2 day-long sessions. Each year during these sessions, the girls discuss issues in the community, they prioritize the issues that are important to them, and then they have the power to allocate $10,000 to some really great organizations. The 2017 group selected violence against women and girls and access to economic opportunities as their top priorities. In this sense, the community benefits pretty straightforwardly from the funding. A main goal with my evaluation, though, was to also see how the high school girls might benefit from their participation in the program. I sent out a survey, and 45% of all the past participants responded. Not bad. The results include information on what the girls did after graduating high school. 85% of our survey respondents went to or plan to attend a four-year college or university. They go all over the place from California to Michigan to Florida. Several of them attend UW-Madison. Many of them are still in the Fox Valley. One of the girls plans to join the military. The respondents seem to be doing great for themselves. The report also includes 3 articles, 2 on grantee organizations Harbor House and YouthGo, and 1 on a past participant, Rachel Baldwin. Rachel currently works in Madison. Her participation in the Girls Grant Making Project exposed her to grant writing, which she does now at her job all the time. She hopes to run for office and eventually launch a political career. The Girls Grant Making Project has been an important step on her path to reaching these goals. My favorite part of the report, though, is what the girls themselves had to say about their experience. I'll read some of the quotes from their surveys. I learned that my ideas are important and valid, and it gave me confidence to voice those ideas. I felt like I was truly making a difference in my community. My participation in the Girls Grant Making Project has inspired me to take bolder steps. My Girls Grant Making Project experience has made me realize how incredible our community is. I now want to work for a nonprofit to impact people's lives. Just from these quotes, you may be able to guess what the conclusion of my evaluation report is. This program empowers these high school girls. It gives them a voice they don't normally have, which they really value. It educates them about philanthropy and our community in new ways. The Women's Fund invests in women and girls through programs like the Girls Grant Making Project, because results like these are so invaluable for the future of our community, because they are the future of the community. We have a class of young people coming through to lead us who are informed, passionate, and empowered, and we can't wait to see them continuing the mission of the Women's Fund on their own. The entire Girls Grant Making Project report will be available on the Women's website soon. Thank you.
Nice to hear from you. Suzanne is part of our future too, so it's nice to have her here. The Fond du Lac Area Women's Fund, the Women's Fund for the Fox Valley region, the Women's Fund for Greater Green Bay, and the Women's Fund of the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation have collaborated to update the Status of Women in Northeast Wisconsin report, which was just released yesterday. The Women's Fund's first released studies on the Status of Women in Northeast Wisconsin report in 2011. Using data compiled in partnership with the Wisconsin Women's Council for Brown, Fond du Lac, Outagamie, and Winnebago counties, as well as the state of Wisconsin, the report is intended to help inform local communities about the realities experienced by women and girls in our communities. The 2017 report gives a current and comprehensive picture of the most pressing issues for women and girls in Northeast Wisconsin. The report is a series of fact sheets covering 12 different topics related to health, safety, economic security, and the leadership of women in our region. The video we will now share, produced by Blue Door Consulting, highlights a few of these key findings. Okay, wait now, don't start talking too much, okay? This is part of our promise to get you back to work. At a decent hour. We'll try to get that going, but we're going to move on at this point right now. I am pleased to introduce representatives of this year's speaker sponsors. They are Rebecca Kellner of Associated Bank and Allison Meyer of U.S. Venture. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
Thank you for that introduction, Lisa. Associated Bank is once again pleased to be the speaker sponsor today, and this year share the stage with our friends and longtime partner, U.S. Venture. As Lisa mentioned, I'm Rebecca Kellner. I'm the Senior HR Consultant and Compliance Officer for Associated Bank's affiliate, Associated Benefits and Risk Consulting. I also have had the pleasure of co-chairing the events committee that helped put on today's event in the past. Associated appreciates and understands the value of investing in women and investing in our local community. While the financial services industry hovers around 16% of women in executive leadership, based on the strides we have taken, Associated boasts 27% of women in leadership. But it's not about achieving a number. It's about recognizing the unique talents a diverse and inclusive workforce brings not only to our clients, but recognizing how we all benefit from a culture that truly believes we are better as a result. Equally as important is the work we do as an organization to invest in the communities for which we serve. In 2016, our colleagues volunteered over 62,000 hours, supporting over 1,800 nonprofits in our communities. For those colleagues who volunteer over 50 hours in a calendar year, we're awarded $250 to a nonprofit of our choice. And in 2016 calendar year, that resulted in $90,000 of grants to organizations. In addition to that, Associated Bank was generous enough to provide 28 corporate grants to Fox Cities nonprofits, including being the speaker sponsor here last year. Like our speaker and like our partner, U.S. Venture, thank you. Like our speaker and our partner, U.S. Venture, Associated recognizes the incredible culture we have here locally, and we are thrilled to be part of it.
Nicely said, Rebecca. U.S. Venture is also delighted to be a speaker sponsor again this year. My name is Allison Meyer. I am Corporate Communications Specialist at U.S. Venture, and I'm happy to be here today both as a company representative and a team member on the Women's Fund's Communications Committee. Having been in business for 66 years, U.S. Venture is recognized as one of the top distributors of products that vehicles consume in North America. But here in our community, we are equally well known for our giving culture. Just last month, with the help of many of you in this room, our annual U.S. Venture Open raised a jaw-dropping $3.96 million for the U.S. Venture Fund for Basic Needs. For the U.S. Venture Fund for Basic Needs within the Community Foundation for the Fox Valley region, the Greater Green Bay Community Foundation, and the Oshkosh Area Community Foundation. More than $36 million has been raised in the 32-year history of the event, and more than $18.3 million has been granted to nonprofits here in Northeast Wisconsin to date. We encourage and embrace collaboration and social innovation in our philanthropic efforts, and we're committed to supporting local nonprofits that are working tirelessly to eliminate barriers for those in poverty. And that's why we're all here today, to support the Women's Fund and its mission to invest in the unique needs of women and girls in our community. We've also gathered here today to hear from our speaker, who is working tirelessly as well to understand the long-term impacts and effects of concussions sustained by athletes. It's a privilege to introduce Dr. McKee. Dr. McKee is the director of the Neuropathology Service for the New England VA Medical Centers, as well as professor of neurology and pathology at Boston University School of Medicine. She is a well-regarded scientist who grew up in Appleton and attended Appleton East High. Go Patriots. I am not a Patriot. I am a Rocket, but that's okay. And she completed her undergraduate studies at the University of Wisconsin. Like many Fox Valley natives, she can regale you with her stories about visiting Lambeau Field, where she watched pros like Bart Starr and Ray Nitschke become stars. And like many of you, she is also a mother.
Dr. McKee is best known for her neurological research and expertise on the roles of concussions and head injuries and what they do in brain health. She was featured in the Frontline documentary League of Denial and has participated in briefings with the National Football League, and as well as testifying at hearings before the United States Congress on the effects of traumatic brain injuries and their impact. Impressive as it sounds, her research is not always readily accepted or appreciated. As a female working in an industry dominated by males and taking on institutions like the NFL, she has had to persevere, believe, and stand up for herself and press on. Allison and I are delighted to introduce Dr. Ann McKee to share her story with us.
Wow, this is a big crowd, and I'm really, really honored to be here. And I want to thank Becky and all of the Women's Fund for inviting me back to my hometown to give a talk. I'm going to talk about my work on CTE and the long-term effects of trauma. But unlike most of my talks, I'm going to talk about me. And I don't usually do that. I have never made this about me. But I am today going to talk about what I've been through and where I came from, the influences on my life. And I guess we'll just start. So I was born only about a mile away from here, and I spent the first 18 years of my life at 924 East Alton Street with my parents and my 4 brothers and sisters. And this is a photo taken shortly after my birth, and my sister Ginny must have been taking the photo. And you can see that I'm youngest by far from my siblings. You know, they came in a fairly regular fashion every 2 years, and then there was this big gap 7 years later, and I was born. And I was what my parents described as a happy surprise. But I want you to just look at this picture a little more closely and see if that happiness was shared by all the members of the family. Yeah. Chuck and Bob do not look happy. Yeah, so here's another photo from shortly after my birth, and this time it's all 4 of my siblings. And I couldn't find them for the talk, but I've seen the outtakes for this Christmas card photo, and believe me, every single one, Bob and Chuck are crying. Yeah, and about that same time, the neighbor kid, I think that was Cindy Rudolph, was trying to teach me how to play football. So that just tells you how important football was to me and our family and part of our growing up. And here's one other picture. This is actually one of my favorite pictures from my childhood. Not only did I revere my brothers, I did. When you're the little kid, you love the next in line. I loved my brothers. I was so happy to be taking a picture with them. And it was there in Post Lake. We're at the end of the dock, where I have our cottage. And you see that I'm pretty young there, and we're at the end of the dock, right? I do not have a life jacket on. But I'm there with my brothers, and they're going to protect me, right? Because let's just look at that expression. Yeah, Bob's all over it. He's going to protect me if I start falling. And Chuck, he's clearly been asked to hold my hand. So he is holding my arm very reluctantly. So this is how I grew up. And then, of course, they became football players, and I adored them. And all I really wanted to become was a football player. But that just wasn't in the cards, being born female. So I watched them from afar, and I think I went to every single one of Chuck and Bob's game. I kid you not, mostly Chuck, sorry, Bob, but mostly those were Chuck's games, every single one we went to. And it wasn't just my brothers, my dad. My dad loved football. He played football for Grinnell in that crazy outfit that you can see there. And he encouraged us. We were born here in Appleton. The Packers are right in our backyard. I mean, you can't be born here and not be forever after a huge Packer fan. And I'm no exception. I adored Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Wherever I go, I'm a Packers fan, and that's just the way my childhood was. So there were other influences, and I think a big influence for me was my father. I had a special relationship with my dad. He and I were a lot alike. We both woke up early in the morning, and I remember part of my childhood that I was fondest of was these walks with my dad, nature walks. He'd explain to me about red and white pine, little things. And the other thing he did was he took me to the Institute of Paper Chemistry where he worked, and he was a research scientist. And this was this mysterious building full of, chambers. There were all these plasticized rooms with high humidity and heat to simulate the environments in Central America and South America. And he had all these weird drawings and diagrams that I never understood, but I was somehow fascinated by. And he worked on these weird research projects like forest genetics and paperboard testing. I mean, I didn't understand any of it, but I remember really being impressed by it. And it turns out that I ended up doing something fairly similar. And then the last influence I think that was major for me is Appleton. And I've always been very proud to be from Appleton. I think the values that we share here are really good and true values. And there's something about this town that understands right versus wrong. I don't think money is valued here as much as it is out east. I mean, I'm always surprised by what a focus there is on money. And so I think this value system, which of course was my parents as well, it was hugely influential in my life. Treat your neighbor like yourself. Don't think you're any better than anybody else. I got those messages. And my friends now in Boston call this Appleton effect, they call it the Pollyanna effect. And they think that that's why I'm so good on television, because I'm so nauseatingly sincere. I don't know. I'm just telling you. I went to Case Western Medicine. My brothers and sisters came and watched me graduate. That was a huge thrill. I went on to Cleveland, Ohio, where I did neurology, and then later Boston for neuropathology. And I finally had some female mentors because I was surrounded by men in medicine. That's just a true fact. We actually had a bigger class of females at Case Western than ever before, but we were still very much the minority. And these two teachers, Dr. Betty Banker and Dr. Tessa Headley White, were enormous influences for me. Believe it or not, Betty Banker was a battle axe. She was the hardest teacher I've ever had. I was actually really happy to leave her program because I could never make her happy. But as it turned out, the one who demanded the most was your best teacher. And I ended up, recontacting her and asking her if she'd recommend me for further studies. And that's when I went to Boston and I studied under the world's greatest neuropathologists, E.P. Richardson and Tessa Headley White. And most of what I did back then was Alzheimer's disease. For the next 20 years of my life, I studied Alzheimer's disease and aging. I eventually moved to Boston University, where I set up my own brain bank. And that's what I thought my career was going to be about, Alzheimer's and aging and tau protein, which was fascinating to me. But one day, when I was looking at these Alzheimer cases, I came across the case of Paul Pender. Now, Paul Pender in the Northeast is a well-known former boxer. He was twice world champion. He fought Sugar Ray Robinson for the title. And everyone knew the name of Paul Pender. And what was amazing was he was diagnosed in his 70s with Alzheimer's disease. But when his brain came into my brain bank, and I looked at it under the microscope, he did not have anything like Alzheimer's. He had a disease called chronic traumatic encephalopathy. And for me, because I was, this is what I do for a living, look at brains, and I'd looked at thousands by then. I'd never seen a pattern of abnormality in a brain like I saw in his brain. It was the most curious pattern. It circled small blood vessels. It was irregular. It was truly, truly extraordinary to me, and I wanted to see more of it, but I couldn't find any more examples. And then here's where opportunity and what you would call luck really changed my life, because 2 years later, I met an individual named Chris Nowinski. And Chris Nowinski is the only Harvard alum he actually played football for Harvard, but he is the only Harvard alum who ever went into professional wrestling. And so Chris is a smart guy, and he suffered a lot of concussions. He had a lot of head injuries as a professional wrestler, and he was smart enough, even though he was in his early 20s, to realize this wasn't normal. And he had so much trouble finding anyone who knew what was going on, and it was finally our colleague, Dr. Robert Cantu, who said, you know what, you're getting all these concussions, all these head injuries, you need to move on to a different profession. But what Chris did for me was he said, would you like to look at some brains of football players? And I was like, what? Are you kidding? Brains, football players? Wow, that is amazing. What an opportunity. Yes. Yes, I said. And that was really the start of all this wild, wild ride, and why I'm even standing in front of you today. And that was the beginning of looking at the brains of former NFL players. So our first two were John Grimsley and Tom McKee. They were both very similar human beings. They both were 45 when they died of accidental deaths. They both played 9 years in the NFL. And both of them, around the age of 40, their wives, and they'd been married for many years to their wives, thought that there was just something odd going on. They had a hard time putting their finger on it, but they couldn't remember things. They just were acting in a way they thought was unusual. So they both had the wives had those brains donated to our center, and this was our first and second case. And when I looked at those brains in those 45-year-olds, even though they were some 30 years younger than Paul Pender, I saw the ravages of this same disease that I'd seen in the boxer, that extraordinary, peculiar disease called CTE. And that's where it took off for me, to see this in such young people. And then we created a brain bank. We've gathered over 440 brains. I think as of today it's 442 because these brains keep rolling in. We've had hugely important people come to see our brain bank, like Sanjay Gupta and Maria Shriver, but also, you know, the secretary of the VA has been there twice. So this is a big deal, and we've had all sorts of news crews in there. Geez, you know, 60 Minutes. It's almost like everyday business to have a news crew in there. But we created this brain bank, and it's the biggest in its world that's focused on studying this disease of CTE. We created a center with Bob Cantu, Bob Stern, and Chris Nowinski called the CTE Center, and now I'm the director of that center. And we went to the NFL. I should say I went to the NFL. I went there twice because we were so amazed by the findings when we first found them in these football players. And I have to say, naively, I thought they were going to drop everything and become very concerned. We don't want this happening. But surprisingly, they just marginalized me. They just put me down and told me that clearly I had the wrong idea. I went there 2 times, and then I went to Congress. And this was really the time when Roger Goodell was there. This was actually the beginning of what you probably now recognize as this awareness of concussion and mild traumatic brain injury in football. It was really in this 2009, 2010 time period. And I'd also like to point out that this is an accurate sequence of events, just in case you've read any books or see any movies that may depict this differently. This is what actually happened. So what is CTE? It's a progressive neurodegenerative disease. It progressively causes decline in memory and cognition and causes behavior changes. It's associated with concussions, but more importantly, it's associated with something we call subconcussion. So you don't have to have symptoms from a concussion. You just have to have exposure to repetitive head impacts. And our work over and over has validated that the number of concussions doesn't have anything to do with your risk for CTE. It's the amount of exposure. So for a football player, that's your playing career. The longer you play, the higher your risk. We know that it's defined by an abnormal deposition of a protein called tau in the brain. And unfortunately, at this point, one of the biggest obstacles to knowing more is that we can only diagnose this disease at postmortem, after death. And so researchers all over the country and the world are really focused on developing methods to identify this in living individuals, because that's when we're really going to get on top of this disease. So we know that CTE is a progressive disease. It's defined by this characteristic pattern of tau. The diagnostic features were described by my group back in 2013. It's an extraordinary disease from a scientific standpoint because it encircles small blood vessels, and it's around the crevices of the brain. And the reason it's there is because that's where the traumatic forces are greatest. When you have these acceleration, deceleration, rotational injuries, your brain stretches, and the areas where the tension of those forces are the greatest are around blood vessels and at the crevices of the brain. And that's what explains why the tau is deposited there. We convened the first consensus panel to define CTE, not once but twice, and we're working on the third consensus panel. And as some of you know, we had an enormous publication just last month in JAMA, where we reported on 202 football players, 177 with CTE, and that included 110 out of 111 former NFL players. So that was fairly startling news. So, but just to put that in a nutshell, what my team has done in the last 9 years, we've had over 60 publications and reviews on CTE. We've established the world's largest brain bank. We've published more than 70% of all the known cases in history have come out of my center. We've established the diagnostic criteria and the criteria for the staging of the pathology. We've discovered the link between CTE and ALS. We've reported the first cases in a number of different contact sports, as well as the youngest athlete with CTE. We've published the first case in military veterans, and we've discovered the roles of other proteins that affect the brain, like TDP-43 and alpha-synuclein. And importantly, most recently, we've discovered the role of neuroinflammation and microglia in the spread and triggering of this disease. So we've done a lot. We have not been lazy over the last 9 years. So what I wanted to say about that is it's been hard. It has not been easy. This has been a hard, hard road for me, personally. And yes, there has been sexism. I have been marginalized. I have been humiliated. I have been told to be quiet all along. That's just part of this business. But what I did, and what I would advise for all the young women going forward, is don't concentrate on those detractors. Don't spend your resources dealing with those people. Keep your eyes straight ahead. Put your head down and work hard. And when they say bad things to you, you just work harder. And you work really, really hard for as much and as long as you can. And when you're successful, you will win the battle, and you won't have lost your energy in the skirmish. You will have won the war. And then those people, all those people, and all those people won't matter, but they will be very, very angry. I also wanted to just mention briefly that the biggest problem for me hasn't been sexism, believe it or not. The biggest problem for me has been something that you probably don't even know exists in science: professional jealousy. And it's at arm's, it's not your enemies over there, it's the ones right next to you. And you gotta be careful, and you gotta go through life with your elbows out. And it's tough. And they want what you have, and if they can't get what you have, then they want to say they did what you have. I've got a lot of people taking credit for work that we did, and that's just part of this game. But you get tough. I mean, years of doing this, battling with pretty big shot guys, you get tough, and that's what I've learned. Just stay tough, stay focused, and keep saying the same thing over and over and over. Anyway, I wanted to show you the other hard part of this, and that's the emotional part, because this isn't just science and talking and publishing papers. This disease takes an emotional toll, and maybe a little bit on me, but it's on the families that endure the anguish of this disorder and see it in their loved ones, their spouses, their parents, and their children. This is a very, very difficult disease, and it affects young people. If you see that montage up there, a lot of the people that have been affected by this disease are young. They're in their 20s and their 30s, and they're being cut down way before they should be. They're not living that long, productive life that they should have. Instead, they're dying from the consequences of this disease. And I'm just going to go through a few of these very briefly, but here's just a smattering of some of the cases. Owen Thomas, 21 when he died, played at the University of Pennsylvania, died with stage 2 CTE. Michael Keck, 25, college football, played for Alabama, died at 25 with stage 2 CTE. Tyler Sash, 27, played in the NFL, died at stage 2 CTE at his death. We've seen it in soccer players. Patrick Grange, 29, when he died, stage 2 CTE. And we've seen it in ice hockey. Derek Bugard, 28, when he died. And then just to really bring home what this disease looks like, I was very fortunate enough to get a video from one of the families. This was produced by the family, and it is about this individual, Greg Pletz. He played for the University of Texas. He's only a college football player. And at the age of 59, he began to show the signs of dementia. And this is the story that his family produced.
You want to go sit down? No. Well, the doctor needs to see you. Please. Remember, you have a cough. We have to check your chest. We can go in this room. I'll go with you. Come on. That bronchitis wiping out. It's okay, she's almost finished. It's good. No. It's okay, Greg. It's okay. We're almost finished. Fuck. It's okay. The doctors help us.
Help us.
They're trying to get your chest well.
Let's go.
Yeah, they may do a chest x-ray. Will you do that?
I thought that we were getting older and he was just a little goofy. The last 10 years of his life, this disease changed him. And really, the last 2 years were the worst. If you live it every day, it is very trying. But until you're there, you really don't know how horrific this disease is and what it does to a person. I love you.
11 yards.
People did not want to hang out with us. They couldn't understand what was going on with him. So we lost a lot of friends. Coupled that with depression, losing your job, losing your language, losing your identity. His identity was being a teacher and artist. He was a lost soul. And one day he looked at me across the table and he said, "Deb, please help me. I don't want to be like this." He made you feel welcome. He was just a special person. I felt very fortunate that I was married to him for 37 years. If my husband's suffering and his story helps even one person, then he hasn't died in vain.
So he had stage 4, the most severe, most advanced CTE. So who's leading this fight? And I am very grateful to be with an army of women, most of them the spouses of the players that have died, but also some congresswomen. And most of all, I am very grateful to Lisa McKee, the wife of Tom McKee, my second case in football, and she has been the representative for the family for all these years, and she is just an amazing individual. And I also want to thank the other women that are fantastic in this crusade or campaign, have been my technicians. And they, like so many women, work incredibly hard every day to produce the most amazing slides. And my work is completely dependent on them. If they do good work, I do good work, and I have done amazing work because of those slides. But like many women, they work hard and they get absolutely zero credit. So I want to thank my longtime technicians, Carol and Carrie. Sarah's more recent, who have been with me for about 25 years. So who will be part of the solution? Because we need a solution. And the solution is going to be who's at risk for this disease, how many repetitive hits to the head is important, what are the genetic risks, and how can we detect this in living people, and most importantly, how can we treat this and cure this once it's there. So the answers to these really important questions moving forward is going to be the next generation of research scientists, and I hope that includes a lot of women. So I just want to end up by saying thank you to my children who have sacrificed a lot because I haven't been there. I've been involved in a fight that's taken really all my energy. I want to thank my brothers for making me tough. They taught me to fight back from the very beginning, even when you're outnumbered and seriously undersized. And I want to thank the women, because there have been so many inspiring women, and these are just a few of them. And I want to thank my family for giving me good, strong values and supporting me. And I want to thank Appleton and the Women's Fund. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne, for sharing your powerful and inspiring message. I usually make my remarks before the speaker, and now I'm remembering why I would choose to do that. And I'm also going to go off script for just a second, which I told everybody else they could not do under any circumstances. But my first luncheon, I think, was in 2004, and the theme that year was Voices of Courage. And the whole time Dr. McKee was speaking, I kept thinking about Voices of Courage. And your standing up for those who aren't in a position to stand up for themselves anymore is really powerful, so thank you for doing that. So, I think most of you know me by now, but my name is Becky Belanger, and I'm the proud executive director of the Women's Fund. I've had the opportunity to witness the power of girls and women coming together to help and encourage each other. I've been able to experience many of life's joys and sorrows with you and through you. What continues to inspire me about the Women's Fund is that we are always moving forward and willing to invest in new strategies to help women in our community thrive. I'm very excited to share with you today the launch of a pilot program, which is part of our Young Women's Initiative, a new multi-year initiative to increase the lifelong economic security of women and their families by strategically addressing the needs of young women aged 18 to 29. This decision was based on findings from our Community Needs Assessment, the Status of Women in Northeast Wisconsin report, along with feedback from our grantee organizations that shared that there are significant gaps in the services for young adults aging out of programs and lacking the support and resources they need to transition into independent adulthood. Statistics show that women aged 18 to 24 have the highest poverty rate at 26%, and nearly 2/3 of households with minor children in poverty are headed by single mothers. This collaborative project is a partnership between the Women's Fund, Fox Valley Technical College, and BABES, and will use the Aspen Institute two-generation approach, which provides opportunities for vulnerable children and parents together. Our Young Women's Initiative will work to move young, low-income mothers and their children from poverty to independence and offer opportunities to experience the potential that exists beyond their current circumstances. Through workshops, connections to community resources, individual case management, quality early education, and parent-child development support, as well as other services that help remove barriers, the Young Women's Initiative will address the root causes of poverty for our community's young adults. Over the course of the next several months, Image Studios will help us capture the stories of some of these families. In fact, just last week, I was able to meet one of our participants, Alex, and her 13-month-old son, Jax. Alex talked about wanting to provide a nice life for her kids, about buying a house someday, about having financial security and even financial freedom. She thanked the Women's Fund and Babes and Fox Valley Technical College for the opportunity the Starting Point 2.0 program will provide, and said that it is difficult to accept the help, but she's going to do it because she knows it's the right decision for her family's future. She also talked about wanting to give back to the community someday when she's in a position to do so. Alex would not ask for you to invest in her, so I'm going to ask on her behalf. When we ask you to invest in her, please think of Alex and the many women like her in the Fox Valley who could use your help to transform their lives. I would now like to invite Sarah Micheletti, the Women's Fund Board President, to share more about how you can join us to invest in our sisters, neighbors, parents, children, and friends right here in our community.
It has been my honor to serve as the president of the board of our Women's Fund. As the mom of now 2 daughters, one of whom was born 5 weeks ago, so please excuse the bags under my eyes, I choose to give my time, talent, and treasure to our Women's Fund to ensure that my daughters and their peers will have the opportunity, knowledge, and self-determination to pursue their dreams and achieve their full potential. The mission of the Women's Fund of the Fox Valley region is to invest in women and girls through grants, advocacy, and education, and to provide philanthropic opportunities that encourage and inspire women and girls to flourish personally, economically, and professionally. From the 106 founding donors in 1994 who wisely invested in our future with a $130,000 endowment, our Women's Fund has grown more than $2.3 million in assets and provided almost $1.3 million in grants. We work to ensure women and girls live in safety, have their basic needs for living met, including food, shelter, and access to health care, have the knowledge, opportunity, and self-determination to be economically secure, have opportunities to pursue their dreams and achieve their potential, and are empowered and inspired to learn about and experience the value of philanthropy, including volunteerism, mentor and encourage others, and recognize, develop, and apply their leadership skills personally and professionally. I'm able to be here today 5 weeks after the birth of my daughter because of my tribe or my village. Some women are not as fortunate to have a strong village. Our Women's Fund strives to strengthen every Fox Valley women's village. You have the opportunity to create change for girls, women, and their families right here in the Fox Valley. On your table, you're going to see a gray envelope. I'm investing because of my daughters, Anna and Meredith, and I invite you to join me. Your contribution will change lives and provide hope and healing to girls, women, and families right here in our community. Every dollar counts, and our shared contributions can be a powerful tribute to those struggling in our community. Volunteers will be circulating around the room shortly to collect your envelopes. I would invite you to get involved with the Women's Fund. Follow us on our website or Facebook. You can see the awesome picture that Suzanne took earlier if you follow us. Hopefully catch yourself in it. Volunteer or come to our next special event. Our collective voices and energy can bring the light of hope and healing to our families, friends, and neighbors. Every gift counts. On behalf of our volunteers, board, and thousands of women and girls and families who will benefit from your generosity, thank you.
I didn't mean to be quite that dramatic about that, but I really didn't want to lose my envelope. So we have a goal today, and our goal today is to raise $20,000 to support our grant making for the coming year. In honor of the 20th anniversary of Women's Fund grant making, won't you consider a gift of $20 or more if you are able? If you've already purchased a raffle ticket, thank you. But if not, please consider making a gift in the gray envelope Sarah mentioned. We actually have more than 1,025 people here today. Last night we were here setting up. Jen and I went back to the office to tie up some loose ends, and I think she had 3 or 4 messages from people who wanted to get in. So I really have no idea how many we ended up with, but the last number I knew was 1,025. That is an awesome turnout. And if we think about, with that many people in the room today, how even modest gifts when pooled together can make a huge impact. Melissa Gates said that when we invest in women and girls, we are investing in the people who invest in everyone else. I've had the opportunity to see this in action. Your investment in women and girls creates a stronger community and world. Thank you all for joining us today to invest in local women and girls and women right here in Northeast Wisconsin. So now I'd like to invite Lisa Malik to come up, and she's going to help us with the raffle. And we are not going to show the video we have planned, but that is just another reason to get engaged with us on our website and social media. So we are drawing right now for basket number 1, which is the Kate Spade wallet and Vera Bradley purse. And it also includes an Amazon Echo Tower. So number 1. And now I really do have to have my glasses on. I do too. Okay, so 344-2738. 344-2738. Yay. So our raffle winners can go to the raffle table out in the hallway when you're ready to, at the conclusion of the program. So number 2. And number 2 is the Michael Kors bag, and that also includes a one-night stay here at the Radisson. And that number is 344-3826. 344-3826. Yes, we have a winner? All right, great. Congratulations. And finally, package number 3, the Kate Spade purse and a diamond pendant necklace courtesy of Avenue Jewelers. All right. 344-3799. 344. Yes, all right. Congratulations, everyone. All right, and I think you can just finish.
And we just want to say thank you so much for everyone coming today. On behalf of the thousands of girls and women who've benefited from the Women's Fund for 20 years of grant making, thank you. Remember to check in your booklet for next year's event, because Becky would like you to call before the night before, okay? So have a great year, everybody. Thank you so much for coming.
I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on.
And if you want it inside your soul,
just open up your heart, let music take control.
I got